Welcome to the world of probiotic foods. This is Cultured Food Life with your host, Donna Schwenk.
Welcome to the show, everybody. I am Donna, and we are talking about probiotics for different ailments today. It's exciting to me. There's such a big frontier in health and wellness about probiotics. And for many, many years, I always felt like I was all alone in this world of understanding all that bacteria could do and all that it did for us on a daily basis. And most people only think about probiotics in a supplement bottle. But on this show, we are talking about foods that have probiotics in them. And probiotic foods that have billions more probiotics than you can actually buy in supplements. And I think that supplements are really good too. I like them. But they are often killed by the stomach acids when you take probiotic supplements. And they never make it to the parts of the body where they're really needed. And you also don't know how long those probiotic supplements have been sitting on a shelf. And bacteria has to stay alive by having enough food. And depending on whether they're refrigerated or depending how long they've sat on the store shelves will determine how long those supplements are viable. And so it's always been something that I found very interesting because for many years I bought supplements before I found Cultured Foods. And I always felt like they didn't really do very much. And I think now I wasn't taking enough. I mean, I think you need to take a lot more supplements than you do Cultured Foods. Because when I did finally find Cultured Foods, that these wonderful probiotic foods, I was shocked that a spoonful could make such a difference in my life. And I could feel the difference because I could see things happening to me that I never felt with the supplements. It's interesting that because probiotic foods are so different, they have... because they're in the form of food, they have like a little protective halo around them that speeds them to the parts of the body where they're needed. And because it goes through the digestive tract and it does it so quickly, and because they're attached to food, it just works better. Researchers found that one spoonful of cultured vegetables has more probiotics in it than an entire supplement bottle, which doesn't surprise me in the least because I could feel the effects in my own body. And this is so neat, guys, because it's so much less expensive. It works better. It will teach you so much about how food can work in your body. It kind of trains you. And you're not dependent on, and you're not spending a fortune on buying supplements. I love this about Cultured Foods because not only are they inexpensive to make, but they're sustainable. And you can, if you buy a kefir culture or a kombucha culture, I've had mine for, oh my gosh, how many long? 16 years now for both of those. And they're still going. And and they make new ones. And so I give them to my family and to my friends, and now I sell them. And it's an amazing thing because they'll last for your lifetime. They'll last through your children's children if you take care of them. And I love that about Cultured Foods because they're so less expensive than supplements and they work better and they're fun to make. And it helps you to engage and to become a part of the food that you eat. It kind of helps you to see food that works like medicine in the body. It's just so cool. And it really can change your life. And it has mine. And that's why I do these radio shows. And I have so many things that I'm doing on my site now. I just did an ebook this week. I have a Biotic Pro membership site on my site. And we have all kinds of help in there. We have videos and a forum, and we have a live chat, and we have this community of people, and we have a lot of people there. And I just made an ebook for my Biotic Pro members, and it's a health one. It's called Cultured Foods for What Ails You. And it's just available for January and February, but it specifically targets ailments in the body like colds and flus. We have one for UTIs, and they're foods. They're recipes for foods that I have used and other people have used to help them overcome things like high blood pressure, foods that specifically target ailments that people have that have successfully really helped people overcome some of these ailments in their life. And it's great because it's just food. And I've got these recipes are delicious. They are so easy to make and they're fun to make. So I'd love for you to check it out because it's really fun. And some of them are free too for everybody. And a lot of them are mostly for my members, but there are some like flu prevention, cultured vegetables is free on my site. And I head on over there and take a look because not only can it prevent the flu and boost your immune system and help you, but it can help you recover faster if you do get a cold or flu because nobody wants to stay sick very long. when they do have it because it's miserable. And when you start to realize that food can do this for you, it opens up this whole new world for you that is so exciting and it's so rewarding because you start to work with your body in such a meaningful way. Because honestly, guys, if you don't feel good, life is really hard. It's just discouraging when you don't feel good. And when you understand how your body works and how you can help it to be better and how you can help it prevent things, it's like the chains fall off and you're free because you're not afraid of getting sick. You're not worried that, you're going to have all this downtime because you start to really love your body, feed it the things it needs, and you have fun doing it. And that's what I try to do on my website and my books. I try to make it easy because I'm busy, guys, and I don't have time either. So this is really all the recipes and all the things that I teach. I get rid of all the jargon. There's a lot of people out there teaching you to do fermented foods, but very few of them have been doing it for 15 years and day in and day out. And I do it because it keeps me well. It's how I live my life now. I never, ever, ever want to go back to being sick. And so there's a lot of rules that people put on things like, oh, you've got to use weights to weigh down your cultured vegetables. Well, whatever. You don't have to do that. And you have to buy fancy equipment, and you don't have to buy fancy equipment. And you don't have to buy fancy airlock lids. I sell airlock lids to make cultured vegetables too, but I also tell you don't have to have them if you don't need them. I like it because it makes it taste a little better and crunchier, and it works a little bit better, but it still works with a jar and a lid. And I just want you to make them and get well. And people will tell you need to take breaks from stuff, and you need to not use, somebody else was telling me the other day that they told them they couldn't use a metal strainer for kefir. And I've used a stainless steel strainer for 15 years and it's fine. So I've got all the tips and tricks because I've done it so long, and I want to make it easy for you, because if it's not easy, you're not going to do it. And guys, I want you to be well because you don't know what you're missing. It's just awesome to feel good. It changes everything in your life. And it makes you love others and want to help others. And it fills you with this sense of joy and freedom that there's nothing like it. And when you feel that way, you just share with others. You can't help it. It's ridiculous. I never wanted to be an author or have a website. Never in 100 million years did I think I would ever do any of this. But that's because I didn't feel good. So I didn't have that in me. I didn't even see that on the horizon. But once I started to feel good, everything changed, and here I am. And I have thousands of people that I am on my website that I help, and it is the most rewarding way to live your life is by helping each other. I was talking to my son the other day, and we were talking about different things, and he said, money doesn't make you happy. I said, it doesn't make you happy. It really doesn't. But I said, what really makes me happy, DJ, is helping other people. I said, that is just the most addictive thing in the world to me. Because when I get these emails and letters from people and they get better, I tell you what, there is just nothing like that, because their lives are better, their family lives are better, their jobs are better. And I was one of those people one time. And so using my life as a lesson to help others and to learn more and more about these foods and share them with you. Everything I learn, I share with you. I don't tell you anything that I don't do. I don't say you need this or you need that if I don't need it, if I don't do it. I make it as easy as possible, because when you get better, everything gets better. And it's exciting to me to teach you about how wonderfully well these foods work. I mean, probiotic foods are so much less expensive than supplements, and they work better. And I reach for them over and over again. I mean, if symptoms crop up, they're there for me for things like headaches. I use kombucha. Seasonal allergies. I have a million recipes for seasonal allergies, because you need extra vitamin C and you need extra B vitamins when you have seasonal allergies. So these foods are loaded with it. So I have certain recipes that I use for seasonal allergies that get me through what used to be years of massive hay fever for like 40 years. And now I know how to use these foods to help me get through that. If I have anxiety, I need extra kefir in my day. If I feel stressed, I need extra kefir. There's something about it that calms me down. There's extra B vitamins, but there's also helps make serotonin. And so I reach for that. And I know I need 2 cups. That's what I need when I'm having anxiety, and it works great. Viruses, we just made a whole ebook about what to do if you get the flu or if you have a cold. I've got like 20, I think it's 27 recipes in there for different ailments, and I showed you all the recipes I use for it on my Body Pro membership site. It works great. You'll be shocked. It will help shorten colds, and guys, it'll start keeping you healthy. And I don't have to prove it to you. If you try these foods, you'll learn for yourself. Go check out my Facebook page at Donna Schwing Cultures Food Life and look at all the people that post on there about how these foods help them. And then it'll make you a believer once you try them yourself. That's what's so exciting. It kind of feels like when I see these cultured foods that I make and they sit on my counter, it's like they're here to keep me well. I know that they work, and it's one of the things I can share with all of my friends. And as we think about all of our health and our future, it can be really scary out there because everybody is sick and they don't need to be. But, what if you could go to your doctor and instead of him handing you a prescription, he would give you probiotic recommendations that would help your illness. And then he would tell you that this probiotic has an 86% success rate in several randomized studies with no side effects. That is actually starting to happen with many physicians, many open-minded physician and healthcare providers. And I am so excited to see this happening. They're making their way into the healthcare system because they work. And I've been doing this for years, and a lot of times I didn't even have the research back then because there wasn't any. And now, 16 years later, research has caught up with what I've known for years. And I didn't even know why it worked for things like IBS, seasonal allergies. I didn't know what was in it that was doing it. And now the research has caught up and is teaching me just exactly what I had seen happen in my own life and with other people. And the research there to support it. It's so exciting. So if you have a lot of good bacteria in your gut, they're going to crowd out the pathogens that are looking to grow and multiply into large numbers. And bacteria wants to work in numbers. And when you have a lot of good bacteria of certain strands, then they grow and multiply, and then they say, okay, we've got enough, so we're going to go after the pathogens, and they're going to kill and destroy them because inside of your gut, there's this like 3 pounds of bacteria, which is 100 trillion throughout your body and on your body. And so what happens is they need numbers. So if you have a lot of pathogens that are overriding a lot of the good bacteria, you're going to have a struggle. You're going to have illness. You're going to be not feeling well because the pathogens are going to be more dominant, things like candida and other pathogens. But when you have enough good bacteria, they are like, okay, now we have an army. So we're going to take over these pathogens and we're going to remove them from the body. And that's kind of how it works. And they work on your behalf. So there's a list of ailments and strains of probiotics that can treat different ailments. And things like anxiety, antibiotic-associated diarrhea, constipation, acid reflux, allergies, asthma, autism, cancer, chemo, colds, flus, colitis, Crohn's, diabetes, fibromyalgia, food allergies, high cholesterol, IBS, kidney stones, ulcers, yeast infection, and even dental cavities. And all of these different ailments are in my book, Cultured Food for Health, which is not my latest book. My latest book is Cultured Food in a Jar. But the book before that, Cultured Food in Health, I list all this and I have all the research. And a lot of doctors are prescribing probiotics on a regular basis for these things now. And I want to tell you about a few of these studies that are used to treat these diseases because it's pretty exciting. And one of the ones that was absolutely thrilling to me, and I've witnessed this firsthand with some of my friends, and I've seen it be amazing, and that is with autism. And it really had an impact on me. There was some research done by a food microbiologist at the University of Reading, I think it was Pennsylvania, and it was referred to by some people as the trial that was so successful it failed. And the study was done with 40 autistic children, all between the ages of 4 and 13. And each child was randomly placed in one or two groups for about 3 weeks. One group was given a probiotic supplement, and and the species that they were given was Lactobacillus plantarum. And guys, that is the biggest good bacteria in cultured vegetables. It's the most dominant. It's the strongest one in cultured vegetables. And then the other children were given a placebo. After 3 weeks, the researchers planned to switch the groups because they were going to give the placebo kids the probiotic, and then they were going to switch the probiotic kids to the placebo. But the parents of the children taking the probiotic knew they were taking the probiotic because they saw such positive results, and they refused to switch to the placebo. They said, "We're not doing it. We have seen such a dramatic change in our children. We're not switching off whatever that you had given them." And there were so many of the parents that did that they not only in just their behavior, but in their digestive health, their mental health, behavioral attitudes, and things they were doing. And they said it would just absolutely crush them, or it was heartbreaking to them to have to stop their child from taking these probiotics, and they weren't going to do it. Their children were so much calmer and had a great ability to listen. And the trial had such a large dropout rate that it was completely discontinued and it failed. And I have seen this personally firsthand with a good friend of mine. And I actually wrote about it on a blog on my website, culturedfoodlife.com, called Autism and Cultured Foods. And I encourage you to read that. Her name was Mary. She had 3 autistic boys. And it was the very beginning that I had found Cultured Foods. And she would go to I think it was a Russian bakery, and this guy made cultured vegetables in the back, and she would go and get all these cultured vegetables and feed them to her boys along with kefir. And what happened to her boys was so amazing and so thrilling that her boys became some of the brightest kids I knew, and they were severely autistic. But it was really the beginning for me witnessing what cultured foods could do. And it opened my eyes. It made me want to help others, because in the beginning, I didn't want to tell a lot of people, because Mary and our kids were in a class together, and we would sit and talk about these foods, and people thought we were crazy because we were talking about bacteria all day long. And but we were so excited because of the changes that had happened in our families and our lives. And it was really Mary that made me want to tell and help other people, because it was such an astounding thing to see what it did to her family. So I encourage you to go check that out. It's on my website, Autism and Cultured Foods. It's at culturedfoodlife.com. You'll love that article if you're. It has the research and the notes in it, so you can go look it up for yourself. Another big ailment, asthma, is a big one that I have seen be really, really helpful with probiotics. And I've heard so many people, and actually I had a really good friend. She was one of the first people I told about cultured foods. And I was hesitant to tell people because people thought I was crazy, that I made food on my counter and let it culture. They thought I was losing my mind. And her little boy was coughing so bad from asthma. He was having an asthma attack, and I couldn't take it anymore. And so I told her, I said, "You should really try giving him these foods that I've been feeding my kids. I think it would really help him." And she did. She listened and she did it. And her little boy quit using his asthma inhaler. He got better. He got off it. And then she quit giving it to him. Like 7 or 8 months later, she quit making it for some reason. I don't remember why. And she went on vacation or something. And after about a month, her little boy was standing in the kitchen. He was 7 years old. And he started to cry. And he was standing by the refrigerator, and he started to cry. And he said, "Mom, my asthma's coming back. I need that kefir. I need that kefir. It's coming back." And because he was having trouble breathing. And it made her a believer. And it made me a believer, because I didn't know that it would do that. And I remember one day I was at Whole Foods at the grocery store, and a lady that had come to one of my classes stopped me and told me that her husband had gotten off his asthma inhaler after 15 years of using it, just by adding kefir and cultured vegetables to his diet. And I get stories from other people, emails and people from my classes. Guys, it's amazing. You should try it. I've seen it do some amazing things, and it's just food. And I think it's worth a try, especially for those struggling with asthma. In the American Journal of Epidemiology, they tied asthma to antibiotics. This study found that when doctors gave young children antibiotics, their risk of developing asthma before the age of 6 increased by 50%. And in another study, researchers in the UK analyzed data for more than 1,000 children from birth until the age of 11. They looked at their medical records. They determined how long doctors had been giving them antibiotics and how often they ended up with asthma. And they said Adam Kostovic, he was a researcher, he was an allergist researcher, and he said, we noted significantly higher risk of physician-confirmed wheezing after antibiotic prescription. There was a 70% increased risk for any kind of asthma case after they had been given antibiotics. And that speaks a lot to the connection between a healthy gut and the occurrence of asthma, because many times people discount what happens in the gut that relates to the rest of the body. And asthma is one that's really connected. As you'll find out, a lot of these ailments are connected. And it's interesting because, Hippocrates always said all diseases begin in the gut. And it seems that over and over again, that's what I'm witnessing with people. Another ailment, colitis, is a really interesting study that was done on it. 34 patients with mild to moderate colitis who had not responded to the conventional treatment. They took them and they put them under 6 weeks of treatment with a high potency probiotic mixture. And they had a lot of different strains in there. And all of these are in cultured foods, which is really interesting. Lactobacillus plantarum, Lactobacillus acidophilus, Bulgarius. There's a whole bunch of different strains that they put them on. And the outcome was impressive. 77% of participants responded to these probiotics, and there was no adverse side effects that accompanied the other kind of treatment that they were given, the prescription drugs they were given. And colitis is one I've seen many people have actually written me about colitis and how much it's helped them. And what I have found that's interesting is that some of these bacterias, and some of the ones they give them in the study, are what they call transient bacterias. So they don't last very long in the body. So you need to have them every couple of days, if not every day, because they don't stay in the body. And I did notice that a couple people said that when they stopped them after a week or two, then their symptoms started to come back. But then if they kept on them, they went away, and then eventually they stayed away after the bacteria had changed in their gut. So that's something else to remember when you're dealing with probiotics. Fibromyalgia is one of the fastest growing disabling conditions I've seen. It seems to just have come up out of nowhere, and everybody seems to really be struggling with it. And not everybody, but there seems to be a lot more people struggling with it. And it seems to affect mostly women, is what I've noticed. And it's a chronic inflammatory condition that makes your muscles and your joint pain and causes extreme fatigue. And I've seen it be so debilitating and ruin so many people's lives. And more evidence is pointing to an unhealthy gut in people suffering from fibromyalgia. They did one study and they found that those who had fibromyalgia also had leaky gut syndrome, or IBS, irritable bowel syndrome. And studies showed that 73% of patients with fibromyalgia reported gastrointestinal symptoms and signs. And since the IBS was present in 30 to 70% of fibromyalgia patients, they really believe that there's some kind of gut connection. And a woman who came to my class, her name was Sherry, shared with me her story about fibromyalgia that I want to share with you. It was really interesting. She said, for over 20 years, I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia. For years, I had an all-over body ache and felt like inflammation everywhere. It was an ache that I had every day, and I was especially achy when it rained outside. After having a terrible bout with the stomach virus that lasted about a week, I searched out information about how to heal my gut issues. I found your videos, and that's where it all began. After watching your videos, I immersed myself in making kefir, cultured vegetables, and kombucha, and after 3 weeks of filling myself with these wonderful foods, I woke up one morning and realized that I didn't have all over body aches anymore. And it's been that way for the past 8 days, and I'm so excited about it. It also calmed down my painful gastric problems, and I had a sense of well-being that I had not known before. I know this is something I'm going to continue to do because it has greatly improved my health. And since that time, I think I've talked to Sherry, and she's doing well. She's doing great and doesn't have fibromyalgia. And we have so many other people that share with us that, when they have fibromyalgia, they do almost always seem to have gut issues too. And so even if it didn't help with the fibromyalgia, fixing your gut alone would be an immense improvement And I greatly encourage you to try eating these. What she did was called the trilogy. Kefir, kombucha, and cultured vegetables is what I call the trilogy. And because there's so many different strains in each one of these foods, it seems to be the most effective when people are really struggling with something. Another interesting thing this is what I'm hearing a lot about is cholesterol. It is really impacted by these cultured foods. And I have so many people that are sharing with me that their cholesterol is getting better and better since they started with cultured foods. And it's interesting how it works. As good bacteria grows in your intestinal tract, those little microbes consume some of the cholesterol that's present and then they incorporate it into their own cells. This means that the cholesterol becomes unavailable for absorption into your body or into the bloodstream, so it naturally lowers your blood cholesterol. And I have a good friend, Shelly, who told me one day, she texted me one day and she said, Donna, my cholesterol's gone through the roof. And then in the next text, she said, that is my good cholesterol. It's so high that it's making my overall cholesterol higher. My doctor loves it. So whatever I'm doing, he told me keep doing it. And Shelly is a kefir fanatic. She loves kefir like I do. And she doesn't go a day without it because it helps her so much. And I've heard this from quite a few people. I've seen them posted on my Facebook page. It just seems to work so effectively. The more good bacteria you have, the less problems you have with your cholesterol getting out of balance. Another ailment, kidney and kidney stones. There's a lot of emerging science in the use of probiotics for kidney health, especially in the medical field. They're really starting to look at this. And actually, new probiotic supplements have been developed to specifically treat the kidneys. And they've had some pretty remarkable results. Certain strains of probiotics can gobble up urea and uric acid and creatine and making many other toxins that are not being eliminated by unperforming kidneys. And they gobble them up and eat them, the bacteria does. And as the healthy bacteria grows and multiplies, they consume more and more of these poisonous substances, and this reduces the serum toxin levels in the urea, and people with compromised kidney function have great improvement. And I got a letter from somebody who expressed to me what happened to her, and this is a pretty remarkable story. And her name is Penny, and I want to read this to you. I wrote to you a couple months ago in desperation for some help. My kidney doctor had just told me that my kidneys were functioning at 20%, and I needed to choose which form of dialysis I would prefer. This was a death sentence to me. I have had several health problems through the years, and this was heading for a crash. This was making me realize that I was heading for a crash. I had asked you if you had ever heard of anyone who had tried this cultured food and drink of way of life without any results of repairing kidney function. And you told me that you had not heard of any, but you encouraged me to try it anyway. And in my grief and despair, I decided to do just that, Donna. I went back to the kidney care doctor just recently, and he just kept shaking his head, and he said he didn't understand how or why this way worked. But that not only had I lost weight in the last 2 months since I saw him, but my kidney function went up 10%. Yay, God. He said he had never heard of this happening before. The nurse came back in after my visit and said in all the years she has worked for him, she has never, ever seen him speechless like this. All this, Donna, after only doing it for approximately 1.5 months. And that was a thrilling story because I didn't know that it would help kidney function. I didn't know that. So when she asked me if I'd heard it had helped, I told her I didn't know specifically that it helped kidney function. But lo and behold, it did. And I'm so glad she tried it anyway. So that's thrilling to me because for many years, people will write me and ask me letters, and I didn't know if it would work. And what has happened through the last 16 years is that I have seen it help so many things. It's astounding to me. I mean, I didn't know why it was working. And now the research is catching up. So it's a really exciting thing. All of these ailments and more are in my book, Cultured Food for Health, and on my website. I have lots of stories about help and ailments, and I have that new book out with recipes to help you, and you should check that out. I think it's I'm going to be putting a video out this week about it, so stay tuned for that, and that should be loaded up here shortly. But all in all, you have 100 trillion friends helping you that really care about you, that live inside of you and on you, and all they really care about is you. And it's so amazing to me that it's just food and that so many people are finding help from the foods that I love so much. And they're living foods. They have living organisms in them that already are living inside of you, and they help you thrive and grow. And I hope that you'll be able to just start leaning in the direction of these foods and see for yourself if they work for you and see if they'll change your life like they've changed so many people's lives on my website and just all my friends too. Even the friends who thought I was the craziest. And I had a lot of friends who thought I had lost my mind. They even told me I had a food cult one time because they just thought it was ridiculous. But they were the ones that needed these foods the most. And boy, did it change their lives because some of them got really sick or their kids got sick. And it was such a blessing to watch these foods help them. I was very grateful because there's not much out there sometimes when you're struggling and not feeling well that can really help you that doesn't have side effects. So this is just my little world that I live in that I love so much, and I love sharing it with you. And if you'd like more information, check out my website at culturedfoodlife.com or my books. I have 3 books, Cultured Food for Life, Cultured Food for Health, and Cultured Food in a Jar. And you're going to be hearing a lot more about some of these recipes, and I'm going to be making more and more recipes so that you can find the relief you need to get better, to be happy, and to be healthy. You guys have a wonderful week, and thanks for listening. And I love your guts, quite literally. So have a good one.